Hello everybody, this is Fernando for Godzilla Movie News. My apologies for posting this late video so long after my last one. It's just that there hasn't been really any news going on with regards to the latest Godzilla movie. In fact, I checked all the sources, looked online, checked everywhere on the internet, nothing, no news of any kind with regards to anything going on. The only modicum of news that's been reported is the potential chance of Godzilla being associated with the San Diego Comic-Con for this year, which makes sense. I mean, if you have a big event like that, what better way to announce anything huge than with regards to making sure that it goes with the biggest Comic-Con out there. So we'll see. If anything happens, I'll definitely report it on that. For this video, though, as I promised and alluded to in some of my past ones, I'm going to review Godzilla 1984/1985, depending on when it was, where it was released. This is a review actually of my favorite Godzilla movie. Out of all the movies that were out there, this one I'll call it Godzilla 1984 from here on out, is my favorite one by far. And I'll explain why and illustrate and analyze why this one remains the best one out there, at least in my opinion, when it comes to it. Also, how much I hope this new Godzilla movie mimics this Godzilla 1984 movie, because I believe that it will be a true path for success. Now, Godzilla 1984 came about because Toho was going to start Godzilla over, essentially. There was that period throughout the 70s and the early 80s where Godzilla was having a strange time in movies. The movies were coming out, but they were portraying Godzilla more as a goofy, kind of lovable creature of sorts. Definitely a hero, definitely somebody that was always fighting the bad guys, in those cases being mostly monsters, and ensuring that Godzilla was always saving the day. And I'm sure you've seen those movies. I've seen them. Godzilla's flying around, even floating in the air using his super breath and doing ninja kicks and all that stuff. And it was just a weird time. So Toho Studios, though, later upon seeing an interest with regards to Godzilla merchandise, because there had been a while actually since the last Godzilla movie before that, Godzilla 1984, there was a revived interest in the merchandise, and that proved that Toho Studios at the time was right to do another Godzilla movie. The difference, however, was that Toho Studios wanted to start from scratch. Essentially, what is very common now, the reboots, was something that Toho did with this movie. They decided that all those movies from the 70s, all those movies, even going back into the 60s, all those goofy ones, were just going to be ignored, and instead this new one, Godzilla 1984, would be the one to start from scratch, kind of like as a quasi-sequel to the original Gojira movie from the 1950s. And they would completely just start over and hope that a new franchise was going to be from here. The starting over process meant that everything else related to Godzilla would be ignored, all that Mothra stuff, anything involving the campy aliens and the goofy scientists and everything else. No, everything would just start from scratch. And by far one of the best decisions, I think, that Toho did was making sure that Godzilla was put back to his proper place in terms of being a major force of nature and a badass one at the same time. With regards to the movie, if you haven't seen it, essentially Godzilla awakens from a volcano and starts playing havoc on Japan all over again. And when he comes about, it's up to the Japanese force, along with their Super X machine, and with the help of the Americans, to stop Godzilla in his tracks. An unwelcome surprise, though, is the addition of Raymond Burr, although initially there are two versions of Godzilla 1984. One is the Japanese version that completely ignored anything involving the U.S. side, and then the revised American version that added American characters to ensure that when it was released here in America, there was going to be an audience that would relate to what's going on and attract more moviegoers. And it's actually ironic because this is the same strategy that Toho Studios took with the very original Gojira movie, where the movie was first made in Japan, and then later when it was released here in America, A lot of Raymond Burr, of course, was in there, but a lot of other American actors were put in place as well, so that way it could seamlessly be Americanized, in other words. And here's well, I'll start talking about how the movie works very well. Number one is the tone. The movie is by far the darkest one out there. I don't think there's any other Gojira or Godzilla movie out there that goes into the level that this one does. It portrays Godzilla as a menacing creature out there to destroy just for the sake of destroying. There's no reasoning behind them. He's out there to save the day. He's stopping nuclear war. He's preventing some kind of disaster. No. This is just Godzilla being the villain that he was in the original Gojira, and ensuring that Toho Studios had Godzilla back to his original form. And the tone was further darkened throughout the rest of the movie by having other themes, again, like the threat of nuclear war, in this case associated with a bomb that the Russians accidentally released, well, either accidentally or purposely, depending on which version of the movie you saw. And then also added on with the destruction of Japan and the death of many people, and Godzilla presumably dying at the end of the movie as well. Definitely something that was not in those children's films that Godzilla was during the 70s and so forth. What also worked very well were the special effects. By far, this contains, and I still say this with sincerity, some of the best special effects out there in a Godzilla movie. When it comes to Godzilla, especially fighting the Super X machine, it's amazing to see that there's one guy that's pretty much a man in suit, and then here's this other device that's pretty much a model floating in the air, and yet it still works, especially when Godzilla is charging after the Super X, going through buildings, firing his breath through one in order to strike the Super X. I mean, it works very well. And one thing that I can hope for in the new movie is that if Gareth Edwards and Legendary Pictures decide to go along that route, where perhaps they don't go with monsters, but instead have Godzilla fight the military and maybe some advanced form of weaponry, if they have something like this Super X machine, then I sincerely hope that they do, because I believe this will be a huge success. I mean, imagine having something like the Super X all over again, but this time with the computer-aided graphics that we have of today and the special effects we can cause. Imagine having something like the Super X change or chase after Godzilla in the middle of some skyscrapers or out there in the fields, maybe in under the water, or chasing him through the air. I believe it would be an amazing spectacle to have. So I definitely hope that they would incorporate something like that in the latest Godzilla movie. What also works very well are the ideas associated with Godzilla. When one thinks about it, this is a movie that introduced a lot of ideas that are unique and yet instantly acceptable at the same time. Like, for example, Godzilla being attracted to radiation, or in this case, nuclear energy. Being a creature of the atom bomb, it makes sense that he would be attracted to such a source of energy. And so when he goes and attacks that nuclear power plant, this is the first time we've ever seen something like that, and it makes sense at the same time. Also introduces the idea that Godzilla can be revived with anything involving something as large as massive lightning hits. Very, very nice visual effect, by the way, that I thought was in the movie, was when the presumably comatose Godzilla gets hit by these lightning strikes over and over again as a result of a nuclear fallout. It revives him, and it was amazing to see, and I thought it was a very well idea. Tying into that is the idea also of cadmium missiles stopping Godzilla. If Godzilla was a source and a creation of the atom bomb, then having something, at least chemically, that can counter it would stop Godzilla in his tracks. And again, it's a new idea, the very fresh thinking, and it works very well at the same time. Also, what works very well, I thought, was the actual suit for Godzilla. By far, I believe this one is his best suit in all of his movies. There's just something so menacing about his suit, particularly the face, where he has this permanent stare. He's looking down, but at the same time his eyes are pointing forward. It's as if he's challenging and looking very fierce, much like an animal would whenever it's backed into a corner. And having that from Godzilla is amazing. It works very well. In particular, there's this one scene where Godzilla, after knocking down the super axe with one of his radioactive breaths, has the super axe land in front of him and then purposely topples an entire skyscraper on top of him. And as soon as that happens, Godzilla realizes he's victorious, turns towards the heroes in this case who are trying to run away from Godzilla, and stares them down with menacing growl of sorts. I'm sure if you've seen that scene, you know what I'm talking about, which is what you'll see actually here with regards to the picture. What also works very well is the idea that Godzilla can be stopped by a volcano. He was born from a volcano, or revived, it looks like, at the beginning of the movie, and it took another one to put him back to sleep. So I thought it worked very well, because here we have this whole movie. The military doesn't seem to do anything, or can't do anything with regards to stopping Godzilla, and then we have a source where he originally came from at the beginning to stop him once again. And in any case, there you can see all the reasons I listed why Godzilla 1984 works very well and why it continues to be my favorite movie. The action is great. I thought the story was really good as well. The acting was definitely up to par. I mean, it's not going to win awards of any kind, but at the same time, it's not cheesy. You can definitely tell that the actors were giving it a good shot with the material that they had to ensure that the movie was good. So definitely, if it's 4 stars, I give it 3.5 out of 4. The only loss is that I wish the Toho Studios or whoever owns the rights to it right now would have it released here in DVD in the Americas, because apparently it's out there in all other parts of the world, but not here. And unless you have a region-free DVD of sorts or DVD player of sorts, then it's difficult to have it playing here. So, well, anyways, thank you very much again for listening to my latest videos. I'm going to go ahead and post another video very, very, very soon with regards to my review for the Godzilla 1998 movie, the one with Dean Devlin and Roland Emmerich producing and directing it. So, thank you very much. Bye.